So I use an app called Evernote. Also, hi! I should start the video by saying hi. Alicia here. You are watching my vlog channel, which is misappropriately named because I don't really vlog. I just kind of talk to the camera. But as I was saying, I use Evernote, which is basically just an app. A lot of you probably know about it. And it's where I store every single random idea that pops into my brain. Journal entries, lyrics, ideas. I have about 1 million categories. I should actually do a video all about Evernote because I'm nerdy like that. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about Evernote right now though is because I have a video folder for video ideas. And I have a lot of, I kind of forget about them. I'll just like write them down as I go. But yeah, sometimes they are written in a way that kind of makes me chuckle. So this is what the topic of today's video is, based on my random Evernote clip that I don't remember writing. Life is harder as a parent, but I'm happier. No punctuation or capitals. Not in a glee way, but overarching. Overarching probably. I don't know how to pronounce some words that I end up reading. And yes, again, no punctuation. Not in a glee way. Okay, so when I was looking at that, I was like, what the hell was I talking about? So I guess what I was trying to say is that I'm not like the hills are alive with the sound of music, like bursting happiness or anything like that. But I have like a sense of wholeness that I didn't have before. But when I read this, I didn't want to talk about happiness. I actually wanted to talk about productivity because that's something that tends to come up a lot in conversations, and I thought maybe you would find it interesting because it isn't something that I thought ever thought would be true. And that's the fact that ever since I became a parent, maybe not counting the first few months, I've actually been way more productive as a human being. And it doesn't make any sense, right? Because you become parents and you lose all your free time. You are helping keep a human being alive, making sure they don't, kill themselves with all the various things that they could, So you're watching them all the time, morning to night. They have their naps and then they have their bedtime. That's kind of like your breather. It's really hard to get things done with kids. This is true. I'm not trying to say that I guess it depends on the kid too, because I was talking to someone whose first child napped for 3 or 4 hours a day, and they just had this wide expanse of time they barely even knew what to do with themselves. That was not my experience with Jane. Jane has never been she's been an okay napper. She naps for about 1.5 hours a day. It's pretty normal. She sleeps for about 11 hours a night. Again, pretty normal, but maybe on the slightly lower side of normal. So it's not like I've had tons and tons of time before me to do what I want to do. And all of that even said, I only have, and this is only recently, I only take her to daycare a couple times a week. This isn't necessarily by choice. It's a whole other conversation for a whole other time. I would work more if I could, but I can't right now. So we're making 2 days a week work. So again, it's not like I have a ton of time to put towards my career. So to go and say that being a piano teacher, where did my brain just go? I am a piano teacher, by the way. Most of you probably know that about me. But being a parent, maybe it was because it started with a P, and that's why I said piano teacher. A parent, a piano teacher. But being a parent hasn't given me more time. Obviously, it's given me less time for myself to work on my projects and endeavors and stuff like that, as one would expect. However, I have gotten more done in the 1.5 years since my daughter was born than I have at any other time in my life. And I think there's a few reasons for this, and that's what I wanted to talk about with you. The first reason is that it really crystallizes your priorities. So if I was a singleton or just married with Michael but with no children, we could kind of comfortably meander through our lives because we're not really influencing anyone else. You know what I mean? We could kind of just make our own decisions. Nothing that we do really impacts anyone else in a meaningful way. But with children, the choices we make suddenly actually matters quite a bit more. If we, if I decide to, if Michael decided to quit his job and be a wandering poet, the last thing that he would ever do with his life, then that would really impact having children. That isn't something that you could just decide. It's probably not something you just decide spontaneously anyway, if you're in a relationship. But if it was just me and him, and he was like, I really want to be a traveling poet, And I was like, well, I'm making enough money that we can make this work. I can travel, I can bring my work on the road, let's do it. When you have a kid, you could still do that theoretically, but those choices, especially if you start making a lot of them, a lot of like, you know, really obscure random choices, like, hey, I want to move here this one time, and now let's move here. Again, you can totally do that with kids, but you have to think about it a lot more, because what you're doing is having a really significant impact on another human being, beyond just your partner. So having that has really clarified my own priorities and has made me want to work harder, because I want to build something for my family. I want to give my family opportunities. I want to give my family rich life experiences and all the kinds of things like that. So that's been one aspect of how being a parent has made me more productive, just because it's made me think about like why I want to be more productive, why it matters. And that is so intrinsically motivating, because when you have a reason to be productive, if I was just, you know, if Michael and I could just like continue our random lifestyle without impacting anyone, then there's not as much motivation to actually change. There's not as much motivation to not binge watch Netflix every weekend. Even if we wanted to binge watch Netflix every weekend, we couldn't anymore. So anyway, so that's reason one. The other big reason is because it just, because my priorities have become so clear, I become very good at time management. So where I used to maybe spend like 4 hours creating a video for Piano TV, like a YouTube video, or maybe I would spend, you know, I would luxuriate over creating lesson plans, and then I would walk to the store, and then I would do a little bit of exercise, and then do some more lesson plans for my students, and spend all day doing that. Now I can really like crunch that down and get it done basically to the same quality, I'd like to think. So with like the lesson plans example, what would take me 4 hours might now just take me 1. And there's some other things too. So I used to spend a lot more time on social media. I used to spend a lot more time on YouTube comments and emails and stuff like that. And I still like reading emails and keeping in touch with what people are saying and your guys' like my feedback with my Piano TV stuff. But I can't spend that much time on it. Like emails in the grand scheme of my life are so much less important than almost anything else. They are important, like it's nice to feel connected to people who are following my videos and stuff like that. I do love it, but it's not more important than, you know, like going to the park with my daughter or something like that. So I've really had to scale back on time wasters, like Netflix, as much as I enjoy it, like social media, stuff like that. So it's made me more productive in the sense that I've had to really cut, like triage. There's not a lot of spare room in my life for time wasting. And because of that, I don't waste time the way I used to. And I wasted so much time before, and I thought I was like a productive person doing fun things, and I guess I kind of was. But like when I look back on my pre-child days, I seriously wasted so much time. And that's okay if that's what you want, but I want to like get a lot out of life, and I want to do good by my family, and because of that, it's just what matters. Scrolling Reddit for an hour or reading a book. So I've had to kind of make these priority calls. And these priority calls, there's been a whole bunch of them, have made me just way more productive than I've ever been, because when I use my time, I'm using it for higher purposes, usually, as opposed to just kind of like, well, I have a blank hour now, what should I do? Randomly scroll Reddit. I'm gonna read something that's going to... Now, I'm gonna go on a little tangent. I've talked about books on this channel before, and I'll probably talk about books in the future. Reading a book a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but about like 50 to 60 books a year, is one of the best habits that I've ever picked up. Actually, it could even be like the best habit I've ever picked up, because it's not even about so much of what I'm learning from the books, and it's not always nonfiction, sometimes they're fiction, but keeping in the zone of reading books improves my patience, because I'm able to tackle larger, more complex issues. When you're just reading 10-minute articles, they're really short and easy to kind of satisfy your impulse to learn. But books are bigger, they're broader, they have a lot more, there's a lot more in them. But it's not even just about the learning. reading books and developing patience. Reading books just keeps my mind interested and engaged in like my general life. It's like for people who meditate, I've never done this regularly, but for people who regularly meditate, and I've had this experience, I should meditate, but you work on your breathing, clearing your mind, all that stuff. And then you start to notice that it's coming in with you in your daily life as well. You're able to kind of bring that ability to not just like react to things. You kind of, it's like you develop a filtration system. You're able to access the moment a little bit easier. So the habit of meditating for 10 minutes a day then goes to infect the rest of your day-to-day life in a really positive way. And the same thing I find true with reading books. It keeps my mind alive, engaged. It keeps me having interesting conversations with my husband. And because of that, I'm just kind of like always in this state of learning and curiosity that self-perpetuates itself. So anyway, total random tangent compared to the topic of this video. But if you do want to be a more productive person, read books instead of reading articles. Anytime you would have spent on like Facebook or Reddit or something like that, read a book instead. It is absolutely amazing. It sounds like, yeah, whatever, reading books, good for you. But like seriously, nothing that I can think of has made a bigger impact on my overall like productivity, I suppose, except for having a child because of all the reasons that I've already been mentioning. So yeah, I found it really surprising that having a child made me more productive, but it has. And it isn't always easy. Like a lot of cuts have to be made. Do I do this or this? I can't do everything anymore. And I'm the kind of person who's like, life's a buffet. I want to taste a little bit of everything, but I just can't. I don't have enough time. So that's why I have to make harsh cuts. So if you've ever emailed me and I didn't respond, I'm really sorry. It's not because I don't appreciate it. I do. It's just because I've had to make some harsh cuts. And I'll expect to have to make more of those in the future as life goes on and inevitably gets busier. That's just the way it is. But yeah, I think that's where I'll wrap up this video. So if you're like kind of scared about having kids and like how you're ever going to have time to do things, you will still have time to do things. I think this also depends on if you have a really supportive husband and family. I'm lucky in that my husband works 8 hours a day and not like, 10 or 12 like some people. So we are able to allow each other these things. So if he wants to exercise, then I'm able to give him that. If I want to practice piano, then he's able to give me that. We're able to work together. This would be a totally different video, I think, if I was a single parent or didn't have like a supportive spouse or supportive family or things like that. But if you're like, I'm a little like, I'm not sure if I can do the things I want to do and still have kids, you totally can. And you might do them faster and you might do them better. So on that note, thank you so much for watching today's video. Bye.